Hi everyone, Dr. Hall here, and we're going to wrap up our lectures on the digestive system by talking a little bit more about nutrients and then putting the whole thing together. So in the first half of this lecture, we talked about the macronutrients, our carbohydrates, which primarily serve as an energy source as well as provide fiber and sometimes vitamins such as thiamine. Proteins, which serve as the source of our essential amino acids, and lipids or fats, which serve as an energy source and also a source of essential fatty acids. In this part of the lecture, we're going to talk about vitamins and minerals and then put everything all together. So vitamins and minerals. Minerals are, by definition, elements, right? These are atomic elements that you need to ingest because you need to incorporate them into larger molecules. So the two that I want you to know about are calcium, which you'll remember is needed for the mineral component of the matrix of bone and teeth, as well as for muscle contraction, right? So remember calcium release from the sarcoplasmic reticulum that allows for tropomyosin to move troponin out of the way so that you can form the so that myosin can bind to actin, form the cross bridge, and then do the power stroke. Also needed for nerve signaling. You'll recall in the axon terminal that when the action potential travels down the axon, gets to the axon terminal, that signals calcium gates to open, calcium moves into the axon terminal, and that's what triggers the release of the neurotransmitter. Iron, you'll recall, is needed to make hemoglobin, which is the oxygen-carrying molecule inside our erythrocytes or red blood cells. Female-bodied people who are bleeding every month, if they're having regular periods, need to consume more iron than other people because they're losing iron every single month. So they have a higher dietary need for iron, but we all need to ingest iron because we all lose some iron all the time. So that's minerals. Vitamins are different. So vitamins are actual molecules that the body needs but cannot make. So these are kind of like the essential amino acids or the essential fatty acids, except they're just essential molecules. And many of them serve as coenzymes. They're necessary partners to enzymes for certain reactions. And I don't need you to know what these different reactions are, but I just want to show you some of them. So niacin is a vitamin that's used to make the coenzyme NADH, which is just really important for aerobic cellular respiration in the mitochondria, which is where we make most of our ATP. So that's super important. Thiamine, which is B1, is also used for making a coenzyme that's necessary for breaking down, right, digesting sugars and amino acids, as well as one for making neurotransmitters. So super important there. And thiamine is found in whole grains. That's a common dietary source of thiamine. Vitamin A is used to make a precursor for pigment in the retina of the eye, and so is really important for vision. So if you've ever heard people say you need to eat your carrots, they're good for your eyes, that's actually true. Vitamin A tends to be found in orange vegetables like carrots, sweet potatoes, and squash. And then vitamin C, interestingly, is a coenzyme for many reactions, but including the one for the production of collagen, which you'll remember is a component of that dense irregular connective tissue in the dermis of the skin. Vitamin C is found in citrus, right? So when you think about orange juice, certainly vitamin C is in citrus. It's also in tomatoes and in some berries like strawberries, and in some greens like watercress. So there's a bunch of different sources of vitamin C as well. Potatoes, I think, yeah. So we need to eat vitamins, we need to eat minerals, we need to eat macronutrients. How much do we need of these things? Well, you need to eat enough, not too much, but enough. So you need enough energy to fuel your bodily activity, right? So you need enough calories, you need enough things that you can break down into glucose or turn into glucose to then fuel your mitochondria to do aerobic cellular respiration to make ATP so that your body has the energy it needs, not only for you to do your activities, but also just for regular maintenance. And so that's going to depend on, of course, your own metabolism, how active you are, and how big you are. For most people, unless you're a really top-level athlete, more than 70% of your daily energy requirement is just spent on keeping your body working. So just your normal cellular mechanisms, just keeping you alive, right? And your heart pumping, and your diaphragm contracting, and your intestinal cells absorbing. So most of our daily energy requirement is just used for keeping us alive. If you are exceedingly active, however, then you will need to take in a lot more calories. So Michael Phelps, when he's training and swimming hours and hours a day, he actually can eat 8,000 to 12,000 calories a day. He will also, interestingly, sleep 10 to 12 hours a day when training. And you'll remember all the important things sleep does for us and why that would be necessary. So most people need somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 calories a day for a basal level. And if you're an athlete, chances are good that you need quite a bit more than that, depending on your level of activity. We also need enough fiber to stay regular. So we're going to get that from our complex carbohydrates. Fiber are those undigestible polysaccharides, right? Both soluble and insoluble. And we need enough to add bulk to our stool so we have something that we can effectively push through via peristalsis. We need enough protein in order to get enough of the essential amino acids. So in general, about 3 to 4 servings per day of protein. So for meat, that's a piece of meat. A serving is the size of a deck of cards. So that's a lot smaller than what a lot of people think of as a serving, so about 3 to 4 of those per day. I've certainly been in restaurants where they served me a steak that was kind of my entire day's worth of protein requirements all at once, right? We also need enough lipid to get essential fatty acids and, of course, to be able to absorb our lipid-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. We need enough of the right foods, usually fruits and vegetables, to meet our requirements for vitamins and minerals, although for some of those minerals like calcium and iron, animal products can be much more robust sources, for example, of iron and calcium than some other foods. So in order to figure this out, right, that would be a lot of calculations. It would vary a lot from person to person depending on your individual body size, metabolism, activity levels. Are you bleeding? Are you not? All these types of things, right? That's why we have people who are dietetics majors and people who get master's degrees in nutrition and in dietetics, right? So we're not going to go there. But what we are going to do is take a look at the guidance our federal government has given us. So this is the MyPlate graphic. It replaces the old food pyramid, and it's really useful because chances are that if on average your meals look about like this in terms of relative proportions, then you are probably getting all of the nutrients that you need and probably in the proper proportions. So I just want to point out how big the vegetables section of this is, right? And so maybe challenge you to think about what you're eating and how you're eating it and whether maybe you can incorporate some more vegetables. Ketchup doesn't really count. Ketchup can be good for you in small amounts, but yeah, not that much ketchup, right? So what kinds of vegetables? And certainly French fried potatoes are very tasty, but they shouldn't be the only vegetable that you consume, right? Because you're missing out on a lot of other vitamins in the green vegetables, for example. Eat a rainbow of foods, as they say. So this is kind of just a general guideline that is pretty good, actually. So how do you know if you're getting what you need, right? So what kind of signs might you observe in somebody who isn't getting enough of what they need? So first off, in terms of energy requirements, if someone is not taking in enough calories to meet their energy requirements, their body is going to make adjustments. It's going to kind of switch into a starvation mode to try to conserve energy. And so it's going to make them feel hungry, right? So hunger is a really good cue for most of us that we need to eat something. Energy levels. So people who chronically are not getting enough calories in their diet will feel tired and logy, and their head will feel foggy because they just aren't able to make enough ATP. Another thing that happens is that as their body tries to conserve resources, it also tries to conserve body heat, and so they'll have decreased circulation out to their fingers and toes. So a lot of times people who aren't eating enough, their hands and feet will always be cold, or they'll be very pale looking because they won't have good circulation to those parts of their body. Also in female-bodied people, oftentimes menstruation will stop. We haven't talked about the reproductive system yet, but menstruation is a cycle that occurs when somebody's body is trying to get pregnant. If your body thinks you are starving, it will say to itself, now is not a great time to get pregnant. There must be a famine happening. And so it will often shut down that reproductive system. So absence of normal periods can sometimes be a sign that someone is not eating enough. So that's kind of for overall energy requirements, and there are more signs that we sometimes see, especially if it's prolonged, but those are some of the big ones. Now, what about if you aren't getting enough protein? So in the United States, we tend to eat pretty high protein diets compared to most of the world. So it's extraordinarily rare for someone in the United States to actually be protein deficient, even people who are vegetarian or vegan, because we have access to all types of foods. So even if you're just eating mostly beans and rice, that's usually enough protein to meet your body's needs. However, if you, for whatever reason, are not getting enough protein, one of the things that we'll find is that then your liver cannot make enough albumin, right? So albumin is a protein manufactured by the liver that you'll recall is important for maintaining the osmotic pressure in the blood. And so if you don't have enough albumin, because you don't have enough amino acids to manufacture it, then you get that edema, right? That leakage of fluid out into the body tissues. What often happens in people who are chronically malnourished in terms of protein is the disease called kwashiorkor, and that's what results in that very distended abdomen because of all the fluid that leaks out from the bloodstream. You can also see that their legs and arms are very skinny, the cheeks are sunken, right? This is someone who also has a lot of what we would call muscle wasting, right? They don't have a lot of muscle tissue in their body because they just aren't able to produce it because they're not getting enough protein. This is usually, kwashiorkor is what usually develops if they're deficient in both protein and overall calories. And someone who is sufficient in calories, you may develop more of that edema in the feet, which we have also seen images of. So this link, and it's also posted in Canvas, is a quick, just about a 1.5 minute video about protein malnutrition. It is good. I highly recommend it. How do we know if we're getting enough lipids? Well, that's not a problem for most Americans, right? But we are noticing that some people are really kind of getting extreme in their attempts to follow a healthy diet. We call that orthorexia. People can get really rigid and refuse to eat any type of fats at all, and those folks can become deficient in essential fatty acids. It's difficult to pick up on specific symptoms due to that, however. For vitamins and minerals, for most of these, there's not a great way to tell if your diet is sufficient unless you get severely deficient, right? So if you're severely deficient in vitamin C, for example, you can develop a condition called scurvy, where you can't make good collagen because you need vitamin C to make collagen. And so things happen like they're teeth fall out because the collagen that normally holds your teeth in their sockets gets weak. Their gums bleed, wounds don't heal, a lot of strange symptoms. But the one deficiency that we do see even in Americans, in female-bodied people, is iron deficiency because of that monthly blood loss, and because sometimes people are avoiding eating red meat or beef because they've been told it's not good for them, when in fact it's really high in iron. And if you're somebody who's bleeding a good amount every month, sometimes eating iron-rich foods is exactly what you need. So people who are iron deficient can develop anemia, which we've talked about before, which is where you have not enough red blood cells, not enough erythrocytes, and therefore not enough oxygen delivery to the tissues. All right, so we're going to finish up our digestive week with an in-class activity. So here's the scenario. I got a to-go meal from Log Jam on Friday night, and I had the following. I had some salad, which had lettuce, tomato, and some carrot in it, with chicken, fried cheese curds, a whole wheat bun, and a small glass of beer. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to identify what are the nutrients that we've talked about that would be found in the different components of that meal. And then what happens to all of those nutrients as they move through the digestive system. So there's a worksheet that I want you to open up, fill out, complete with all of this information, and then save it as your own file, and then upload it to the Dropbox in Canvas. All right, so let's summarize. So we need to eat macronutrients, right? Carbohydrates provide energy and fiber. Proteins provide amino acids and in a pinch can be used for energy. And lipids are a great energy source and provide us with essential fatty acids. Minerals, we need iron for hemoglobin and calcium for all the many things that calcium is important for. Vitamin B1 we need for production of lots of molecules in the body. That's found in whole grain foods. Vitamin A is found in orange vegetables, and vitamin C is found in citrus, tomatoes, and some berries and herbs, and is necessary for making collagen. So that's it for the digestive system. Please post any questions that you have or email me, and I'll look forward to seeing your worksheets. Go to the next slide. So this is the chart. You can copy this and paste it to a Microsoft Word document and fill it out on the computer. That would be fine. Or you can do this on paper, either way, but it's going to be due at the start of class on Wednesday. So this is an opportunity to put everything all together, kind of review the whole digestive system, and doing this is going to get you really well teed up for one of the assignments that we have to do in lab this week. So have fun with it, and I hope you didn't miss me too much, and I will see you either Tuesday if you are section 3 for lab, or Wednesday for the rest of you. So I hope you're having a good weekend or Monday. Hopefully you didn't delay this till after that, and hope you're doing well. See you in class soon.